Welcome, everybody. We have another episode of Cubs Now. Alex Cohen, Lance Brostowski here. Lance, you just got off of a couple games doing some sideline reporting. An additional job for you. You did a great job, in my opinion. How do you think it went?
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was cool to do it with you. I think we hadn't done one together on a major league broadcast, so I enjoyed being able to call up to you in the booth and you kind of bouncing ideas off me and stuff and whatnot. So it was fun, man. It's a different role. I definitely respect Elise and Taylor. They do an incredible job, and they do it a lot more than me too. And I honestly don't know how they come up with so much from like a, hey, is my Nuggets standpoint, because I feel like I exhaust all my Nuggets in the game or two I have and then move on. So kudos to them for crushing it every time they're out there.
One of my favorite subplots is Lance Brostowski, pitching guru on the analytics side. Color analyst is Rick Sutcliffe, pitching guru on the non-analytics side. How were you able to blend and mesh and come to a common ground with a guy like Sut?
Well, I mean, him and Sut's the man, number one. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the time, like old school, new school, you're getting to like the same, I wouldn't say the same conclusion, but you're valuing the same things. You're just doing it in different routes, if that makes any sense. So like, we want strikeouts, we want outs, you want double plays. Like the goals that you're getting to are the same, So I think that a lot of the time you don't think there's common ground with someone who maybe has a very different view of the game than you, but like there's a lot of similarities in what we want, It's just his lived reality is going to be far more valuable than mine, just from like, I obviously didn't play at a high level at all. So, I learn a lot from him, and it's I love being able to listen to his perspective and then almost like consider it through my lens. Like if he talks about how important, he always talks about how important like glove side command is of the fastball. And like, yeah, we can like attempt to measure that through the data. And it's one of those things it's really hard to quantify. It's also like something that's very sticky. So what he's getting at is a good point. It's like, if a guy doesn't have that, it's hard to all of a sudden give the guy who can't command the ball command. So like I enjoy not thinking of like, here's where I can tell Sut he's wrong, because he's right a lot of the time. It's more about like, how can I supplement what he's saying with information that we think about presently and organizations value presently. So that's kind of how I approach our conversations. And I love talking to him.
All right. Before we get to the 2026 Cubs, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Rick Sutcliffe in his prime, do you think that he would succeed in the 2026 game from an analytical standpoint? If so, why?
Yeah, it's a fun question. I think the way I look at those questions of like, would this guy from the past be good now, is like, yeah, they would, because like you would just give them modern data and modern coaching and all these things and they would adapt, like give Greg Maddux, who's even more modern, give him an offseason with a biomechanist and trackman and, an open mind, and like maybe he could be even better. I think a lot of pitchers from the past would probably agree with that. I think every pitcher from the past would be successful in the present day. They would just have to adapt, and it would be the same thing from guys now going back. Like watch the big thing that whenever you watch like old games, watch the catchers, man. Like that's one of the biggest differences. Watch a game from like the early 2000s and watch how they set up and move and frame the ball. Like that would be a difficult thing for modern pitchers to go back and deal with. Like you think. Like, I don't know, like even take like Edward Cabrera, he goes back to the 80s and he's like, hey man, could you go one knee down for me? Cause like my sights are better when you're one knee down. The catcher's like, no, you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. So it's like there's adaptations in both directions. So I'm always going to agree that old pitchers would be good in the modern game and modern pitchers would be good in the old game. They just both have to adapt. And that's the reason they were major league players. They adapted. So like, I have no reservations on assuming anybody wouldn't be great in the present day. They would just have to acclimate to modern baseball. I think that's just my perspective on it.
I love the answer and the politically correct answer for this one.
It's the correct answer.
It's the correct answer. I will say that he could, because there's two things that he does or did that transforms into the 2026 game. Fastball command, and he could spin it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, again, like any of these guys from the past, they're going to have to add velocity. I think that's the main thing. So maybe the question is more, would Rick Sutcliffe with his velo from that era be good now? And I think that's no offense to Sut, that's a more difficult question. Like the average fastball in baseball for a starter is 94.6 this season. Like I've never asked Sut what he thinks he sat or what he actually sat if he has like info on it or whatever.
They didn't quite have
I don't think it was 94.6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the limitation. It's just like the guy would have to add velocity. And maybe that's where I'd get some old school pushback of like, no, I wouldn't have to add velocity. I'm pretty confident any of the guys from the past would have to add 3 to 4 in average four-seam velo and would be able to do it probably pretty quickly in an off season.
Okay. I do like that answer. So from off Sut to Pete Crow Armstrong, we've talked about him pretty much ad nauseum over the last 2.5 months, what he's been able to do, especially from an offensive standpoint. Look what he's been able to do defensively. We're talking about, his 5-star catches, 33 outs, 62 opportunities, 53.2%, and he made not one but two over the 2 games that you were doing sideline. Just being able to see him down there and the amount of ground that he's able to cover, the jumps that he gets, how impressed were you?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, I think the context here, this is a great find by Petriello. I imagine it was something he was tracking because he lauds his praises here, sings his praises here, Pete, whenever he gets a chance, which is great. But I mean, the context here is insane. Like, he passed Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier did this in, I believe, about 900 games. Pete's done it in just over 300. That is like the big thing to point out here. It's not just that like Pete has surpassed Kiermaier, it's that he's done it at the age of 24. Petriello in this same thread mentions that there's a good chance like this will never be broken if Pete like continues to be an above average defender for the rest of his career and plays until he's, let's say, like 35 to 7, like he will accumulate so many 5-star catches that like this might be one of those. It's not in the the hit streak Ripken's games played, like some of those are unbreakable, no doubt.
Yeah.
But this might be one of the sneakier, like present day unbreakables, where it's just like we're just never going to see another player accumulate this many 5-star catches. It's just so hard to do, so hard to convert on those opportunities. These jumps are so good. I think the jumps are something that you can appreciate in person, but also like it's just important to quantify. Like he basically gets 2 strides lengths over the average outfielder in the correct direction of the ball, which StatCast measures. And that allows him to make plays like you're seeing right here on your screen. I loved the one he made Tuesday night, I believe it was, where he went to the track and kind of just like stuck his glove out. Is that this one right here? Yeah, we're taking a look right now. This one to me is like, the jumps one is more just like raw athleticism. This one is a little more feel. It's like the art style where it's like, okay, he can cover a lot of ground because he's really quick, but then some point there, you just got to stick up your glove and like hope that it's within distance to the wall. We're not running 15 miles per hour into the wall. Like that one is the more heady, intangible stuff that I really think would allows anybody watching the game of baseball to appreciate how good he is as a defender. This one to me stood out a little bit more. It was really impressive.
Look at the smile, too. How much fun that he has playing defense for all the success that he's had offensively. So he makes those 2 catches. I won't say he'll definitely win the Gold Glove because Andy Paz has had a really nice year in center for the Dodgers. But he will more than likely win the Gold Glove. He'll more than likely win the Platinum Glove. We can say that. So those are 2 awards that he likely wins. And now we got to start talking about MVP because Shohei Ohtani is only a one-trick pony for the foreseeable future.
We do, yeah. This is a big one. I mean, he had this knee bugging him right before the All-Star break. He held himself out of the All-Star break, it sounds like, because of this. And now they're kind of shutting it down on the pitching side. This was something I kind of wish I was more confident in calling the bluff on him winning Cy Young. There was a lot of chatter, if you remember, let's say like mid-May, I want to say, about Ohtani winning the MVP and the Cy Young because he would throw like 150 innings. And the whole time, I just think people were underrating how the Dodgers think. Like the Dodgers don't care about the regular season, man. Like they could underperform and win 92 games and be the 1 seed or the 2 seed and have a bye. Like they're focused on the postseason. I just always thought there was going to be a point in time this season where they would just be like, okay, Shohei's a little over on the workload side. Maybe he runs into a nagging injury. And now all of a sudden it's just like, okay, we just kind of want him in the playoffs to pitch. We don't really care about September. We're the best team in baseball by a mile. Our playoff odds are 100% right now per Fangraphs. Like, I just don't. I always thought this. I didn't always think he was going to get hurt. I always thought they would scale back the pitching, and now you have the opportune reason given this knee stuff he's ran into. So the main argument for Shohei on the WAR side was that he pitched alongside it, and if you just remove the pitching, then Pete's going to have a shot at MVP, and he's continued to hit really well, and defend really well, as we're seeing, as we were just talking about the 5-star catches. So. I think Pete's got a real shot. Like Ohtani's going to have to put up incredible offensive numbers. People underrate, I think, how valuable great defense is. And WAR captures that very nicely. So we're going to run into some of those like Baseball Reference screenshot comparisons as we get closer on this race, where it's like, oh, like let's say Pete is like more above average hitter, not like incredible like he was in May for the rest of the season. You're going to run into some split graphics where like Ohtani's offensive numbers are better, and people are going to be like, why are you giving the MVP to the guy who's the worst? Like, look at this Baseball Reference screenshot. But it's really important to bring in the fact that Pete is the best defender on planet Earth. So it's like Ohtani has to be like the best hitter in baseball by a mile, I think, to chase down Pete here, because he's not accruing defensive WAR, and that is how Pete is able to like ascend in this sense. So I know it's a little complex in thinking through it, but I'm not sure who the market favorites are right now on this. Maybe I'll check in a sec. But I think the favorite right now should be Pete.
It's still Shohei. Because Shohei plays for the better team, and because Shohei is going to ultimately have better offensive numbers in predominantly power numbers than Pete. That being said, if Pete ends up as a 9.5 WAR player, which is his pace right now, and Shohei without pitching ends up as like a 7.5 WAR player, which is still a really good season, that's a 2 WAR difference right there. And you're looking at Pete Crow Armstrong as a 30 homer, 30 stolen base, 10 triple, best defensive player in baseball. It would be really difficult to go against him. I think he's got a legitimate shot.
I agree. I think the question here is like, how many more innings does he throw? That there's a Shohei. I think it's weird, but it's almost to me like it's not out of Pete's hands. Like Pete has to play really well down the stretch and to continue to be as amazing as he has been. But like if Ohtani throws another
look at this season. Look at this
versus
look at
55,
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Look at this pace for Pete. And like Shohei's having a great year and will have a great year. But I want to put into perspective how elite of a year Pete Crow Armstrong's having. He's on pace for a 10.1 F4 season. It's the second highest in Cubs history. This post by Carson Wolf, which is a really good one, was before the second game against the Tigers, in which he had the catch and he got on base 5 times and he drew 3 more walks. So if he has that season, it's the second best season in Cubs history, next to Rogers Hornsby. It's better than Sammy. It's better than Ernie. It's better than Ron Santo as a 24-year-old in his second full season in baseball. He's a superstar. He should win the MVP. That's my take.
Yeah, I think he actually should be the market favorite right now. Partially because I don't know how many more innings Ohtani's going to get. I'd be interested. Like sometimes you look at markets, but I do think like how the markets are constructed, are more interesting to me. It's like I don't know what the projection is on Ohtani's innings. Like what does the baseball hive mind of society think Ohtani will throw innings wise? Because to me that is going to dictate this. Like if they shut him down and it's more he gets 4 to 6 inning starts in the final month of the season, I think Pete's got it. If they really do just back off him for the next couple of weeks and then he's back throwing mid-August, I think it's going to be a really fun race. Because if Ohtani can put up another 45 to 55 innings, like that's how he's going to close the gap on Pete's defense. So this could be a really fun race. Kind of unexpected because at the beginning of the year we knew Pete was incredible, but you just assumed Ohtani had it in the bag because he's doing 2 things, I think we're going to get some really good debates on local radio here on Marquee. We're going to talk about it a lot as well. It's going to be like a fun topic down the stretch here. As the Cubs make a postseason run, it's also going to be like, hey, like choose your flavor here. Like you want the best defender on planet Earth, an incredibly strong bat versus the unicorn. Like it's going to be fun, man. I'm excited for some of those debates.
Yeah, the one main question is, can Pete continue this pace? If he does have a regression in the second half, that will change the calculus of this discussion. He was otherworldly for 6 weeks in the first half. Not saying he has to be that, but he has to be really good, and he has to continue a 9 WAR pace, not necessarily a 10 WAR pace. But if he does, I think he gets it.
I agree. Yeah. I love it.
All right, we agree. I love it. We can agree together on this one. We're going to take a break here on Cubs Now. When we come back, we're going to have some fun. We're going to bring up a pish-posh of baseball items. I think our producer, Derek Jensen's going to have some fun with this, too. We'll get that to you next. B of Cubs Now. Alex Cohen, Lance Brostowski here. We had a lot of fun talking about Pete Crow Armstrong in Block A, as well as Lance Brostowski versus Rick Sutcliffe. Really enjoyed that. we're going to bring up another topic that we also have brought up a lot in Cubs now. It's called trade deadline. August 3rd's coming up pretty closely. And Lance, you look at ESPN, your guys brought up the top 100 trade candidates. You've looked at this list. What did you take from it?
Yeah, shout out double friends of the program, Kyle McDaniel and Jeff Passan. Passan has been on this pod in the past, so we got to shout him out. He's a friend of the program, and Kylie's a good friend of mine as well. They both do great work. This is cool. This is one of my favorite pieces, partially because they basically rank all the players, but for the top 30, what they'll do is they'll write them up, and they'll also put a probability they're traded on them, which I love, and then they'll also throw names at the bottom. So I encourage you to check this piece out. I think if you just hop to ESPN, it's probably one of the top, above the fold pieces, so to speak, but. I just wanted to point out they write up 30 guys where they put the probability and they associate teams, usually like 3 to 5 teams. They had Cubs on a lot of these guys is the interesting point. It's literally just like all the starters. So of the top 22, they had the Cubs on 11 of them mentioned as like fits. You know what I mean? So it's Skubal, Joe Ryan, Reed Detmer, Sonny Gray, Casey Mize, Clay Holmes, Gossman, Sandy Alcantara, and then 2 relievers in Aroldis Chapman and Josh Hader. I did find it interesting that they didn't put the Cubs as a fit for Mason Miller, who was on this list. I don't know why, perhaps. I didn't get a chance to talk to Jeff or Kylie on that, but maybe I'm reading into it too much because there's a lot of names mentioned on Mason Miller, and you never know. Like, obviously not 100% accurate in their estimations here, but I do think they're guided in the right direction a lot of the time, obviously based on the people they talk to and such. I want to just point out, I thought the interesting name on here to me was Josh Hader. This is an interesting one because he's been hurt with the Astros. He has a history with Craig Counsell, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he's a very good reliever. I like him a lot. I also think he's a Tread Athletics guy, if I remember correctly. So there may be some tangential connection there back to Tyler Zombro, who's in the pitching department with the Cubs. But that's a name where it's like, he's dominant. I really like him, and I don't know if I heard his name as much in this cycle. Like Chapman would be a hilarious one given 2016 and everything. If they reacquired him, that'd be pretty wild. But all the starters are pretty obvious.
I want to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah,
with Chapman, probably not going to get traded at this point.
That's a good point. Yeah, the Sonny Gray and Chapman, I believe the probabilities on those were below 20%, and they said in the piece so obviously all these guys have varying levels of trade. I think it was more a ranking of if they're traded, how valuable are they? And they kind of ranked them. And I listed them, those guys that I just went through in the order, basically they ranked them. But it's a very good point. I do think the Red Sox are at the point now where they probably hold both Gray and Chapman. So then you have a lower number of suitors for the Cubs. Clay Holmes is another interesting one. He's been hurt for most of the season. But he's a really fun arm. He aligns with that idea of ball on ground, really fun shapes. He's got a very steep sinker from the slot he throws from. That's honestly very David Peterson-esque just from the right side. But I thought Josh Hader was an interesting one to me. I don't know why it stuck in my brain, but I just kind of forgot about him a little bit and how dominant he was. But his traits aren't ones that I think will age poorly. He's such a unique pitcher in what he does with that riding sinker that he throws that I do think he's fascinating. Perhaps the injury stuff comes into play to some extent in the long-term picture there. And I'm going to try to look up his contract situation quickly because I don't think I know it right now. And I will get that. No, not Josh Allen, Josh Hader. But is there a name on that list? That jumped out to you, Alex?
I think Clay Holmes as an envelope of the Mets seem like a good trade partner with the Cubs, whether that is Freddie Peralta, whether that is Luke Weaver, whether that is Clay Holmes. I mean, you said Clay Holmes is like a right-handed David Peterson. I think he's a mix between a right-handed David Peterson and, a hybrid Ben Brown, because remember, he worked with Ben Brown in the offseason. So I think there's a lot to like with Clay Holmes. I think Luke Weaver definitely fits, and Freddie Peralta with his ties with the Cubs or with the Brewers and Craig Counsell and that brass. So I think the Mets in general and those 3 guys in particular.
Yeah, so Josh Hader is owed $19 million this year and 19 in 2 more years of control on him. So he's not going to return when Mason Miller's going to return, but he's a little expensive here because Miller's a lot cheaper with arbitration and everything. So I wonder whether this is one, maybe you got to balance the angle of how much money do the Cubs want to take on? And if they don't want to take on money, then you have to give up more prospects. But I'd be interested to see if they're willing to eat some of that salary and get better prospects from the Cubs and have the Cubs strike some balance of a little win now, mortgaging a little bit of the future. They have such a pitching heavy draft that I do think the long-term standing of the organization is going to be in a pretty solid spot. But But yeah, again, a little expensive there, but I don't know why I'm like kind of in on the Hader acquisition. I kind of like it.
I'm kind of in on it too. All right, so from this, we're going to go to present day Cubs action. Alex Bregman did something really cool the other night that I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if it was by accident, but a little bounce throw, Lance.
Yeah, this is cool. So this was in the ninth inning. Again, this game was dead pretty early, but it was fun broadcast talking through. When you get a game where it's a 9-run difference, you could talk about it a lot on the broadcast. So this was cool. Though I feel like this is a little passed over. You see the replay here. The interesting thing to me, I haven't got a chance to ask Bregman about this, but it feels to me like mid-throw, he makes the adjustment to put it into the ground on this bounce pass. It wasn't one in the moment where I felt like he got the ball and he's like, I'm going to throw it into the ground. Again, I'm kind of putting thoughts in his head here. But I thought it's one of those like wacky plays that you try in the ninth when you're up by 9, because like the ramifications of it probably aren't that large. But this is a really fun one. We also saw another play exactly like this in Anaheim, in a very similar play here. This one to me feels more intentional. Like I feel like his eyes are looking down the entire time as he throws the ball to Peraza and over to Shonwell. And there's sun here too, so there's some connection of like, hey, maybe he thought ahead of time that if he threw the ball up, it would get lost in the sun, so let me throw it down. But two of these on the same night, probably an hour or two separated, is pretty funny to me. Just like one of those weird baseball oddities I think we like pointing out.
That's a heck of a toss there by Peraza, like right in on the glove. You look at Bregman here, and Pedro Ramirez definitely enjoyed it. So, I mean, I think it's fun. It was cool to watch, and I agree with you, Lance. Like it was a little undershadowed. I don't think that's the proper word, but like I think that people could have been talking about this a little bit more.
Yeah, it's cool. If it happened in like this third inning of a game that was tied, I think it would have been all over all social media. But stuff late in games like this gets kind of lost. You had a position player pitching in the 7th inning of this game. It's a little crazy.
All right, before we get to our last segment, your take on that. I'm fine with position players throwing when you're coming into the game in the 7th inning. I draw the line right there. What's your take?
I think I think there should be a literal button in each dugout, and if both managers press it, the game immediately ends. I don't see any issue. I understand like everyone's still in the stands, but like, I don't know, man. Just go to the bars or something. Like it's just no one needed those final 2.5 innings of that game. Like yeah. I just don't. I'm cool with it. I understand like the integrity of baseball. Maybe there's some old school people who are like, no, you have to play 9. I get it's the one sport that doesn't have like an immediate time element, which is cool, and I know it's unique about baseball. It's innings and outs. It's not 30 seconds left. You know what I mean? But yeah. But I'm cool with it. Yeah, if both managers want to wave the white flag, I can't imagine we would get a lot of that. But Hinch very clearly was like, hey, I'm playing for tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to burn my pen here. This is insane, especially with the 10-inning game on Monday. Yeah. So, if they both agree to it, why not? Just probably not earlier than like the 7th inning. Even if you want to push it to the 8th. Like the 8th inning on, that's fine. You drop like an inning and a half, no issues.
Lance, I think you should propose that to the owners. I'm sure they'll really like it. So,
I'm sure they'd love to hear my perspective.
Exactly. All right, last thing. Our producer DJ is going to have some fun. It's like our hybrid on Immaculate Grid. He's going to put together a player, teams that he's played for, and Lance and I in real time are going to have to guess.
You're going to be good at this because I know you're good at grid because of your minor league stuff. So I don't know if I'm as strong. But I will give it my all here. Are we just going to shout it out as it comes on screen? So what is this?
Yes.
Okay. So he
two-time
played
All-Star, had a 2-time World Series champion. I do know who this is. I know from the 21 because he got traded to the Braves for Bryce Ball. It's Jock Peterson.
Good job. I don't know if I would have gotten that. It would have taken me longer. Yeah, good. Yeah, right. Dodgers.
Yep. He was with the Cubs.
The Bryce Ball pull. I didn't think Bryce Ball would be on our pod today, but shout out Bryce Ball. Hit tanks, and I don't know if he ever got a cup of coffee, right? He never made it?
He never got a cup of coffee in the big leagues. If you don't know, now you know. That was fun. Thank you, DJ. One for one. The Immaculate Grid history and experience proves to loom large in this one. So, Lance, that was fun. It was great seeing you do sideline reporting, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Good as always, man.
All right, that's another episode of Cubs Now. Thanks for watching, guys.